Okay, so today we're going to talk a little bit about um, Eudicots. These are also known as our dicots, and so this is the largest group of angiosperms. This has all the major families for angiosperms or for our flowering plants. If you can remember when we did our seed charts or our seed books, most of your seeds were dicots, and that's very common when we talk about our idiocondyles or known as our dicondyles. Now remember, they're called dicots because they have two seed leaves that develop for at the start of. So let's start with our asters, daisies, and sunflowers. This is the most abundant family. They're composed of herbaceous or our aster family. Here's a picture of our beautiful sunflowers. They're a member of the aster family. And so with this family, they primarily have what we know as a false flower or pseudoanthers, which means um, they do not have a vast community of florets, so they just have one flowering head with them. And so you'll notice with our daisies here, you'll see multiple petals coming from this major seed portion, and this is our major seed plant. So sunflowers, you have probably enjoyed a sunflower seed or two. That is the major fruit of them. They'll actually have a tough shell, and that shell is a carpel. Remember when we talked about that germination, some of the scaration that has to occur? These are families that do need that scaration to happen on there. Some familiar family members would also include like dandelions, lettuce, artichokes, ragweed, daisies, such as the ones that you're putting on there. Those are the common names. And remember, they do have a genus and species, but we will not be doing genus and species. We'll just be using common names for most of our plants. Botanists do say that there's about, they evolved about 50,000 years ago. So esters are a pretty big family. Then we go into our pea/legume family. These are like your peanuts, your cloves, your beans. This is what we're really familiar with. They produce a nice protein with their plants. So legumes are actually a very nutritious protein. So people that actually have some allergies to, say, beef or pork, and they can't actually eat a protein produced by a mammal, this is where they're going to get that protein from. And so they're really nice protein-rich substances. These are also cash crops. They have a symbiotic relationship with nitrogen-fixing bacteria. They'll have what we call a root nodule or legumes on the bottom of their roots. So we'll actually have that symbiotic relationship. This is really important to understand because they're not just draining the soil of this nutrients, but they're actually having this relationship. So there's nitrogen being produced by these bacteria and they're giving food back. So the soil doesn't get depleted as quickly with our beans or our pea/legume family. So that's really nice to know when we have that relationship here. And let's look at a picture of our F2s right here. These are our beans or our legumes that we have in this family. And you'll also notice with this, they have the free stamen here, and then they can also have a fused stamen. They'll have pistils. They still have our corlax, our sepals right here, and then they will have a very pretty flower. Our madder family is the other one. This is about 10 species of like coffee is a really, really common one for these. Their fruits are usually medicinal, which means they have some type of benefit if you take them. So let's look at their family right here. Oh, they're down a little bit further. And so we have our beans right here. So with this family, they will have a really nice coffee beans, have a lot of value if you take them. Also, we have the mint family. These are very aromatic. They're used as a spice. Mint has been infused in teas. Will have benefits for mint, such as peppermint, rosemary, sage, oregano, thyme, lavender. They're the essential oils that we were going to extract later on. These essential oils can be used for many medicinal purposes other than teas. They do have some benefit or health purposes too for that. They're used to flavor our foods quite often. And so there's a lot of really cool herbs in this mint family. The spruce family, these are also herbs. They're also shrubs and trees. They will lactate a milky sap. And so they'll typically have some type of importance of producing like a rubber from this. We can get that from there as well. One thing that's really cool about this family, and we can look down here in figure 5, you can see that they will have like a false flower to them. So that's not really looks like a flower. We can also see they'll have a tap root, and you can see right here the milk that's coming out of the plant when it's damaged. So these spurges will have a lot of different or complex things, but the rubber tree becomes a part of this. Milkweed becomes a part of this. These are all very common things that we usually see with the spurge, and these guys have a lot of benefit to us as well. I arrowed down too far. Okay. And then we have our mellow family. These will include our hibiscus, which are elaborate flowers, cotton, okra. So we do have some useful cash crops in there as well. They have a radial symmetry and often produce some type of nectar, which is a sweet liquid for the pollinators to be attracted to. And then they form a different type of seed. So the seed in like a cotton is found immersed within that. If we look at our figure 6 down here, we can see this would be our hibiscus. We can see our cotton is here. And so the cotton is a much different seed. It's actually hid within the cotton of that plant. So it's a little bit different when we talk about this. So again, those main plants are daisies, esters, which are daisies and sunflowers, our legumes, which become our peas, our mint, which are a lot of our herbs that we use. Spurge is an herb, also rubber trees with that, our mallows, which are hibiscus and cotton, and then our matters, which are up here and used for that. So this becomes a really important that we understand that the differences between these families, they have a lot of benefit to them. And with the families of our Eudicots or Dicots, this is where we get our major cash crops from. This is what you're going to be planting within your fields. Corn is not an Eudicot. That is a monocot, and we'll talk about corn in a different video. But a lot of our very valuable cash crops are in this Dicot family.